Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. In my addiction, I stayed pretty closed-minded because, at least at the time, I felt like it made things easier to just make a decision on what I thought about life and then stick to it. What I didn't realize is that doing that was preventing me from doing a lot of growth and a lot of important growth, and it was actually keeping me in my addiction. And when I got into recovery, I learned how important open-mindedness was to my progress and to my ability to grow as a person and also to stay sober. In today's video, I'm going to talk some and read through what Tommy Rosen says about his experience with open-mindedness in Recovery 2.0. And here he talks about his first experience with it one day when he's in residential treatment. I'm going to read the whole passage because I really like what he says here. Arriving at rehab in the late afternoon, I was thrust into my first group meeting, which ended with everybody standing and reciting the Lord's Prayer. I had heard it before, but had certainly never recited it in my life, and I was not about to now. I raised my hand then and there and said, this is not for me. The whole room exploded in laughter. I had been carrying an astonishing resentment toward organized religion. It was simply all bad, in my opinion. I condemned the violence, war, hypocrisy, separatism, and authoritarianism that it had produced over the centuries. Of course, we all condemn these things. The unfortunate part for me was that I had shut out everything having to do with it. I thought anyone who spoke of God was lost. That was as far as I had gotten with it. Hearing the antiquated words of the Lord's Prayer reflected all of this horror for me. I couldn't get past it. That closed-mindedness, while understandable, is a killer for people who have struggled with acute addiction. People came up to me after that meeting and told me that they appreciated my honesty and that it would serve me well. I kept hearing that what counted were open-mindedness and willingness, nothing more. If I had these, people told me, more will be revealed. And I kept hearing the same thing when I was in recovery. Keep an open mind. Be willing to see new things. Be willing to change. At that point in my life, I was so desperate for something to come along and lift the burden that I felt and help push me into a better place in life. I was so desperate for that I was doing anything anybody told me to do. I considered myself a pretty good student during my time in residential treatment. I did my best to follow all of the advice I was getting because I was that desperate. And one of the pieces of advice that I kept getting was keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. Don't close your mind to things. A big part of the reason that we need to do this in recovery is related to ego and pride. When I start to close my mind off to other possibilities, in a way that's me saying, I know what's right. I have found the answer. And I know that everybody else who has a different answer is wrong. That is a source of pride, and that's building up the ego in a way that is not going to serve me well in the future. And we know, those of us who have gone through any part of the 12 steps know that pride and ego are very, very problematic things to deal with for anybody at all, but especially for people trying to recover from addiction. So in order to keep my pride and ego at bay, in order to maintain an appropriate level of humility in my life, I have to always consider that I don't have all of the answers. In fact, I don't want all of the answers. What I want to do is remain open to all of the information that I can get from any source during the day, and always consider the fact that new information might help me form new beliefs. This goes back to one of my favorite authors, Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul, discussing the danger of closing off your heart to new experience. To remain open-minded in addiction is to allow new information to potentially change what you believe, how you act, and to always accept the fact that you may not have the right answer. That is incredibly important to me. And I truly believe that had I continued to remain closed-minded the way I was in my addiction, I would not be here today. It really took me saying, you know what, I'm gonna open up my mind and my heart to what other people are telling me. I'm gonna listen to what they're saying. I'm gonna take that in and allow it to influence who I am. It wasn't until I started doing that I started being able to grow. The good thing is I don't lose my individuality when I do that. At least I don't feel that I have. Maybe an outsider would think that, but I would argue that I actually have. I still maintain quite a bit of individuality. I have differing opinions from other people. That doesn't mean that I just follow whatever the crowd does, but it does mean that I'm open to what the crowd says. I'm open to what individuals say. I'm open to any information that comes along. And I consider it honestly and try to consider it without letting my pride and ego and my sense of I'm right and you're wrong get in the way. When I was in my addiction, that wasn't the case. If you started talking to me about something, I would usually determine whether or not I was going to agree with you before you even finished your sentence. And that's not a good way to live, because it closes you off to a lot of great new information that can help you grow as a person. So I think that staying open-minded is really the key to humility and to helping you move past pride and ego into a place of humility. And it's something that has to be active. You have to do it every day. To finish the video, I want to read the last paragraph in this section, because it sums up some of what we've been talking about the past couple of days regarding religion and the 12 steps. He says, if you are a religious person, the 12 steps will give you an opportunity to connect more deeply with yourself, your community, and the God of your understanding. If you are not religious, are agnostic or atheist, or have negative feelings about religion, as I did, the 12 steps will provide you an access point to deeper parts of yourself and a sense of connection with all. That has been my direct experience, and it has been an amazing, wild journey these past 25 years. And I love that message because it speaks to the way that the 12 steps can deepen the relationship with religion for people who already have that relationship. If people find that they want to establish a relationship with religion once they start to work the 12 steps, that's fine too. And if you are not a religious person, the 12 steps can still work for you. They work in a slightly different way than they do for religious people, because the aspect of the higher power is slightly different, but there's nothing wrong with that. The point is that they connect you spiritually with yourself, your community, with something greater than you, and that's the whole point of the 12 steps. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Have a good one.